Welcome back. So this may very well be the last Dreamcast Hunt video that I make, and I say very may well be because honestly, I still have one more game to track down. So I haven't finished the collection yet, but I'm going to take my time on the last one, and I have no idea what I'm going to do after this. It's been a very interesting last few years finishing up this collection. I mean, honestly, in reality, I started back when the Dreamcast first came out in September 9, 1999. Throughout the years, I've slowly just started picking up games, traded some back, got some again, and just had friends kind of pick some things up for me along the way. And in the last 2 years, I really started picking up, and I kind of put myself down and said, you know what? I'm so close, I'm just going to finish this thing and get every US released Dreamcast game that is out there. And I've picked up some odds and ends. Of course, there's been the Dreamcast, the demo discs, which I have that PC one, which is supposedly the really hard to find one somewhere around here. I just haven't seen it for a year or two. When I had it last, I was toying around with it, and so I know it's here somewhere. It's just not with the rest of the games. So, and then, of course, there's the limited edition Sonic Adventure that I picked up at Midwest Gaming Classic a few years back, and all those odds and end ones. So, for this last month, I was kind of picking and choosing. There was one deal that came through on Facebook that was a really good price, and I jumped on it. It was about $25 cheaper than what eBay would have it for. And, of course, for the last game that I'm missing, I've decided that I'm just going to write it out. It's a very expensive game to find still on eBay. It's going up in price. It's at this point I kind of want to wait, and I want to drag that one out and just say if I find it great. I have a feeling at some point it'll probably come around again. I'll either find it at another convention, or I'll find it at one of the game stores that I go to on a regular basis, like I did last month. Well, previously before this month, July, where I found a really good lot of the Dreamcast games I was missing. So, but the one game I did pick up, Techromancer, which is an awesome fighter game with mechs. It was a lot better than I anticipated. When I first saw videos of it way back in the day, I really wasn't impressed with it. I wasn't into the whole mech genre. Being that it was a fighting game, it was great. Always been into the fighting game stuff, so this was kind of a hit or miss for me, really, but I really enjoy it. It's got great gameplay. The characters are, cliche, but I think it kind of plays on that whole thing of it, knowing it is pretty cliche. Is it broken? Well, what game in the 90s really wasn't? Not to say they all were, but typical for that time. It's still fun. Great gameplay, very bright, beautiful graphics for the Dreamcast. It did its job. So the last game I'm missing, of course, is Mars Matrix. And again, that one I'm just going to kind of leave. If I find it, great. My hopes was to actually find it before September 9th, so that way I could do my streaming thing. And I may still do it. I'll just go through all the games. I just won't have Mars Matrix. Of course, too, I'm going to plug in the Sega Addicts crew, which I'm part of. We'll be doing their marathon this weekend on Twitch, Sega Addicts, or Twitch TV/Sega Addicts. They'll be giving away all kinds of Sega-related prizes, from Dreamcast games to, I think, they're actually giving away a full Dreamcast system. So if you're not wanting to spend the crazy amount of money that they're going for now, I think I actually recently saw Dreamcast go for $60 at a store this past weekend, which is nuts. They used to be an average of $30 to $40. So it's doubled its price now. And with the announcement of Shenmue 3 and people on websites claiming that the sales for used Dreamcast games have been jumping, maybe something you want to check out. So that's it. I think after this video, I'll do a little montage of my Dreamcast collection. There'll be some extra goodies in there too, maybe some spoilers. I don't remember. I probably filmed it 3 times going through it, so I'm just going to kind of clip through. That way you get kind of an overview. The other thing that I kind of want to share too, which is not Sega related, but it is a game pickup of sorts. I wanted to do an arcade pickup. Greg sent me a really great deal in Sussex, Wisconsin, for one of my favorite fighters which is actually the first fighting game that I had ever really touched back in the 90s. It was when Street Fighter 2 came out. And unfortunately, Street Fighter 2 was always taken by those players that were up there constantly throwing down quarters. I couldn't do that at the time, so I wandered through, and I found another game that was, to me, greater than Street Fighter 2, and throughout the Street Fighter series, took a lot of influences from. And that game is Darkstalkers. So I have the CPS2 board here. All the wiring and everything, of course, has been stripped away from it. The reason being, because that's about all that remains from that cabinet. What happened was after we made the move, we got up, we checked out the cabinet and everything. We loaded it on Greg's trailer, hauled it back here to Illinois, and we got it into the house after some struggling on my end, because I'm out of shape and getting old. We set it down, and Greg started opening up the back end, and I hear this, "Oh shit," which is always a bad sign. Sure enough, the neck on the back of the monitor broke during transportation, effectively destroying the monitor. There's no way to fix it. Period. Just no way. So the whole arcade, other than the wiring, the sound, it all worked perfectly before we loaded it onto the trailer. It was beautiful. It was put together before. It obviously was a conversion from an Atari game. Greg rattled it off. I don't remember what Atari game it was. So the cabinet was a conversion. The screen was a 19-inch monitor, and the previous owner had just put some black matting around the screen to kind of fill it in. It was kind of, honestly, when I was tearing out the wiring, it was kind of shoddy work. He ended up soldering all the wires to the micro switches, which really makes it difficult to change out those micro switches if they ever go bad. That kind of irritated me. The game, dirty, of course. So after pulling out all the guts, all the controls, which I still have, I kept the buttons and the sticks, and the power supply stayed in the cabinet along with the lights. I actually ended up taking out the marquee. So I don't know how well this is going to go. It's upside down, of course. But there is the original marquee. I kept that. I may find some use for it. It's just going to go up as decoration or something. I ended up selling the cabinet to a coworker of mine who was making his own MAME machine. And I'm not a huge fan of MAMEs, but of course over the years, just because the CPS2 system is one of my fears and why I never got it before is because of the suicide battery. That scares me because I'm not big into soldering. The batteries you have to change out every 4 to 5 years, otherwise if they go bad, it's basically a paperweight. But effectively, I have another plan. My choice was to get a Blast City candy cab, which is still a consideration, but again, older things get, the harder they're going to be to replace, especially with those candy cabs. If the CRT monitor goes, it's going to be extremely difficult to replace that, and then I'm left with an empty shell of an arcade cabinet. They look beautiful. For a year, ever since Greg and I picked up theirs, I am really jealous that they have these awesome cabinets. I had an opportunity to pick one up for a little bit cheaper, but it had some problems on the tube, a lot of collisions and stuff on the screen, and it would take time to kind of repair that. And I'm lazy, so I do have a alternative that I'm looking at, which will fit more modern consoles. I'm strongly leaning towards that because those would be easy to replace. I can use a modern monitor, and as technology changes, I can always upgrade, and I can use the existing fight sticks that I have. If that happens, there'll definitely be a video on it. In fact, that may happen here in the next couple of months, depending on how funds go and how well I save. Especially now that I've kind of backed off from collecting games, in a sense, at least physically. I'm starting to go down that path of digital games, sadly. I'll still have a very strong will for physical games. That will be my preference, of course, but in the end, games like Yakuza 5 for the PS4 is coming out as digital only, and all these other games are going to be digital only. And with the rumor of Nintendo's new system, the NX, being patented as a digital only system, that only further solidifies the fact that that's the direction things are going, and that's what it is. But retro gaming will always have a part of me, and it'll always have a soft spot for it. So I'm sure I'll pick up some other games here and there. In fact, I'm still picking up Saturn games. I actually picked up D on the Sega Saturn recently, last week. So that'll still happen from time to time. Will I do videos on it? Maybe not. I'm also considering doing a Vita vlog of those because I've been getting more into the Vita stuff. And there'll probably be some videos on that soon. I've done some in the past as well on that. So something to think about. So, but until that, I guess this is kind of my closing for this whole series of the Dreamcast Hunt. I thank you all who have stuck through this and watched a lot of the videos of me blabbing on and kind of showing these games. I wish I had more gameplay to show, but if that happens, check out the Twitch stream. You can find me at twitch.tv/TJKitsune. I'll probably be streaming more often there, and I'll do the thing with the Dreamcast games, so something to look forward to. Maybe I'll put a couple of them up here on YouTube. I'm sure I'll have comments and weird kooky things, and maybe have some friends over to play some of those games with, and we'll just have a good time. So, some stuff to look forward to. Maybe it'll happen, maybe not, I don't know. So, but for now, that's it. Again, thank you guys so much for sticking with me through this, and I'll see you on the interwebs.